Alright, so this is a bit off track today, but well, you know, you got to work on what you got to work on around here. So today what we're going to be doing is tearing this gear drive apart in this skid steer brush hog. So let's get into it. Alright, so like I said, today we're going to be tearing into this. I kind of already started this. This is something that I thought about after I started. I'm going to show you what I've got done, show you how I think I fixed the problem, and then hopefully I did fix the problem. So what we got to do is we got to take this cover off, this one, which I already did. You got to pull the 4 bolts out of the pump drive and take it off, and then there's a housing that sits right here that bolts into this. So what we did was we took this apart, and if you can see, the gears actually don't look that bad. And the reason we took this apart is I was a big dummy and did not put fluid in this brand new brush hog, so it basically chewed up these gears in here. I thought I was going to have to replace them, but after I took it apart, I realized that the gears weren't too bad. So we're going to try to fix it, and I'm going to show you here in a second how we think we're going to do that. So this is the other part that isn't on outside that I've already taken off. We pulled this bearing off. I just had it set up here for now. And then it had this snap ring and this groove right here, which holds this gear on, and I thought this gear was pressed on, but it's not. And as you can see, the teeth on this thing, they're worn, but there's still plenty of teeth left. So after I got to looking at it, I realized that this just kind of floats on here. So what I'm thinking about doing is I am going to shim this gear farther out towards that lock ring, which will further engage these teeth into the pinion teeth on the other part of this. And I'm hoping what it'll do is fix this so I can use it at least for a little while. So what we did is we took this gear off, and I measured that flange, because I came to find out that that flange sits on that bearing housing down in there. So what we did is we took a hole saw, and I had some aluminum, and we made 2 shims. These are homemade shims. I just made them out of the thickest aluminum I had laying around that's going to sit in there. So what these are going to do, these are going to sit down on that bearing race down in here, which will bring this gear out farther, which should engage the pinion a little bit farther. So that's how we think we're going to fix this. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's what I'm thinking. So this is Rev 2 of how to make this. This is Rev 1. As you can see, it's not that great, but we figured it out. So we measured everything. This is what I measured. This is kind of how I had it laid out the first time, and then I cut out the center. And then I went to bed and realized that if I cut the center out first, it'll be easier. So that's when I thought of the hole saw idea. So the outside, without blocking the bearings in there, I deemed at 2 inches 400 thou. And then the inside, without getting on the threads, I measured at 2 inches 50 thou. After I measured the splines on here, it was like 2 inches 80 thou. So the 2-inch hole saw actually worked perfect. These slide, it cut out just enough that these slide over just perfect. There's not a lot of wiggle room. At first I thought, since this was pressed on, I was just going to put some, some kind of something out here, and then I realized that these 2 flanges weren't touching each other, so I actually had to go in down there. And then I realized I couldn't block the bearings because that's how it gets lube. So that's turned it into these shims. So as you can see, I used some 10 snips to cut the outside, hole saw to cut the inside. This is kind of like my mess that I've got. So we're going to put this back together, and hopefully I can get this all back together today. We probably won't get a chance to test it, but this is what I'm going to try to fix it with, and we'll see tomorrow if it actually works. So I'm going to try to get all this put back together, and we'll be back. Okay, so here it is all put back together. We got the bearing put back on, we got this back on. It doesn't have a lot of float in it anymore since the snap ring is on there. So we're gonna go put this on and see if we got this thing wrapped up. So be back in a second. Alright, so it's all back together. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is what it looked like when I took it apart. So I got fresh sealant on here, protect any leaks. Got everything bolted back up. So I'm going to let this dry for a day or two before I put fluid in it, and check it out to see if my shim trick even worked. So we'll be back when I actually test it and see if this works. But for now, we're going to call this done, and we'll be back to do some testing. So see you in a bit. Okay, well, I didn't show it, but what I did was I topped off the gearbox with just enough fluid, so if it didn't work, I wouldn't waste a whole bunch of it. You can see the tracks. I hooked up the skid steer to it, and the blades turned, and it worked. So we're going to chalk that up as a win for now. So hopefully it lasts long enough to get done with what I at least need to do. But at least I know I'm on the right direction and I could fix it. So that's going to do it for this episode. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you all have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up. And off to the next project. So we'll see you soon.